Toronto, Ontario is known for its diverse culture, vibrant downtown, and world-class amenities. As Canada's largest city, it's been a popular destination for homebuyers and investors. But what's driving the real estate market today? How have higher costs affected demand and pricing? And where are areas of opportunity? To answer some of these questions surrounding the Toronto market, we are joined by Mathew Campoli. Mathew is a top-ranked realtor, an entrepreneur, and a real estate investor, and is dedicated to helping his clients buy, sell, and invest in the Toronto area. Mathew, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, what are some of the areas there in Toronto that you service, and what are you seeing in the current real estate markets in these locations?
Yeah, so I service all sorts of areas. Obviously, I like to stay within an hour of drive for myself. But my main focus is Vaughan. That's where I grew up. It's just about 35 minutes north of the downtown core. It's more of a suburban area. That would be where a majority of my business is. But like I said, I'm being pulled in so many different directions. So I've tapped into all the markets. I do a lot of Toronto condos as well. But I would say my main focus, naturally, just because of my network, would be in Vaughan.
And how is the Vaughan market right now?
It's good. It's a hub, right? Like you're right off the main highway, the 400. You have access to 407. Tons of major amenities are there. Lots of schools, close to universities, shopping, everything. So in terms of like commuting to the city, there's all kinds of trains and sort of transit that you can access if you were to work downtown. So it's close proximity to a lot of things, and generally it's just a great area. Good reputation. I grew up there. I think I turned out okay. So, yeah, definitely love it there for sure.
How is that 1 hour radius with Toronto traffic or no Toronto traffic?
Oh, no traffic. Because traffic will just kill any drive. So and I won't drive during traffic time.
Smart.
I've learned.
Yeah, smart.
I've learned now. So I schedule my day around traffic. If anyone wants to meet me at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's not happening. You can meet me in the morning or evening.
There we go. And I'm sure it's a similar song for what we've been seeing from the data perspective. Sales dramatically down in the neighborhood of 50% on a year-over-year basis, similar to what we're experiencing here in Vancouver. When sales decline on a level of that magnitude, what sort of buyer profile are you seeing out right now when there's sort of buying opportunities on pricing? Are you seeing a certain demographic or certain buyer profile coming into the market right now?
Not necessarily. Like, you always have your investor looking for a deal. I have a handful of investors who are just, throwing offers at anything because you never know what will stick. Those guys are always active. In terms of my end user clients, I have a lot of clients that need to make a move. There's always people who have something going on in their lives where a move is necessary regardless of what's happening. So you're always going to have that buyer who needs more space or needs to downsize, which in turn they will sell and buy. So in terms of activity this year, I haven't seen much of a slowdown. There's a lot more conversation that is being had, a lot lengthier of a process per se. But in terms of have I seen, a big bulk of my clientele just stop looking? No, I'd say it's been pretty consistent. I've been grateful for that. But the main thing is the conversations that I've been having with clients, because there's a lot more educating to happen right now with everything going on.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. Last year, maybe in 2021, we saw a lot of people just jumping into investments or properties or buying homes. And now people are taking a step back and really wanting to understand the market, understanding the numbers on the deal. So I think it's a bit of a benefit as well, taking a bit of a deeper dive before moving forward.
Yes.
And yeah, totally. And with some of these, with rates being potentially near the top, have you seen the Toronto real estate market, or do you think it's fully adjusted with this higher cost of borrowing?
No, I mean, psychologically, there's always going to be that effect on people psychologically with news and these crazy fire sale headlines. But in regards to like this effect, I feel like real estate does lag behind. It's not like the stock market where, you have news come out and everything will just plummet. There's definitely a delay in terms of what's happening. So it's just been a monitoring type of year, and witnessing what's around the corner. It's hard to tell what's really going to happen next year, but what I've noticed, just being boots on the ground, is every interest rate hike, when the media comes out, and as soon as that media is really strong and what they're putting out there, like they put all these negative headlines, that's where there's the most pushback from clients, because they're reading these articles, not in depth most of the time, but and it's adding a fear into the buyer's mindset, right? So that would be the only main effect that I've been seeing. Obviously, with affordability, people are obviously being affected with affordability because of the rates, but it's a very slow process, right? Obviously, we had beginning of the year, February, January, March prices were just outrageous. Those plummeted pretty quickly, which they needed to. We needed to definitely get back to reality. Now we're just kind of hovering there, and it's been a slow, steady decline.
Yeah, the media definitely does love to manipulate and extrapolate the data. And I was seeing a cool article that was written about the mortgage arrears here in Canada, and how it's right now it's such a very, very low, small number. But even if that number does jump just a tiny little bit, the percentage increase on that could be 20 or 30% of that number. So the perception could be mortgage arrears increased 30% across Canada. Well, that number only really grew by 30% of a very small number. So it's kind of extrapolating and taking that data and blowing it up a little bit there. So you mentioned that you have continued to have some great success throughout this year and throughout COVID. How are some of the different ways that you pivoted and adjusted your business to continue to have great success? What are some of your key takeaways from that?
Well, I think communication is huge as a real estate agent, like really educating your potential clients, sellers, buyers, even renters, sorry. Having those proper conversations up front will help you, so you're not wasting your time. And then we're in that type of market where a house is not going to sell itself. So marketing is super important, and going over and above will definitely set you apart. I'm huge on my marketing, my social media presence, utilizing all those free platforms to give my clients proper exposure. People see that, so that naturally attracts people to want to, use me for the sale of their house. Also, I have a real estate podcast with specifically niched down with real estate agents in the real estate industry, and that has grown my real estate network tenfold. Like, it's become a really good tool for me. And what's that allowed me to do is networking with agents is super important now. And people know that I have a very big network of agents. So buyers want to use me to help them source deals, because I can find off-market properties. I can do all these things that maybe the average guy can't, because I have such good access to these agents and their off-market portfolios and all that. So just going one step ahead and over and above is crucial in this type of market. Can't just kick back, sip your margarita, and expect your house to sell, or expect your buyer's property that they want to just pop up on MLS, right? You got to be very proactive.
Yeah, and I think that's how we first met, is through those media channels. And we hear from everyone, it's how important it is to provide that value to their clients in a free way, being top of mind and wanting to build that network. Being born, raised, grew up in the Toronto area, the GTA is one of the most expensive real estate markets in the world. What are some of the key fundamentals that make Toronto such a strong market?
I think it's a global hub, right? Like you can compare Toronto to the New Yorks, the Vancouvers, the Londons, all the major cities in the world. And I feel like we're just getting started, right? Like we have some of the most cranes up on the planet right now. Like I'm currently looking out my window and I can see 3. And just our metrics, like we're still super short on supply, right? Like the numbers are, we need 1 million to 1.5 million homes in the next decade to keep up with our population growth, right? So we're already short like a third of that number, and it doesn't help that there's a ton of buyers on the sideline right now. So naturally, yeah, like you mentioned earlier, 50% down in sales, but our inventory is still super low. A lot of sellers, if they don't need to sell, they're hesitant, they're waiting. Buyers who don't know what's going on, they're seeing all these headlines, are hesitant and waiting. So we still have a low supply, but we still have the demand is also pretty low. So it's pretty balanced. But as soon as there's some sort of positivity that comes back out, the market's going to pop off because that surge of demand is going to come in and we're going to see like those multiple offers again. I feel like that would happen pretty quick too. But all in all, like I said, I feel like Toronto's just getting started. All the tech coming here, there's so much being built, so much development. We're consistently being put on the map, whether that's through the media, our musical artists, sports teams. It's just becoming a very popular city. So yeah, I'm super confident in Toronto being able to stay stable.
Yeah, it's also another part that the media doesn't like to focus on. It's they love the sales conversation, but the vacancy rates and the rental increases, the low vacancy rate and the rental increases and the supply and demand imbalance, that's part of the conversation that they don't really like to chat about as much because it's not as sexy and eye-catching as sales down 50% is rents are up 25% year over year. So exactly. They definitely love to pick and choose. And if you got a call from a real estate investor out here in Vancouver that says, "Hey, Matthew, I've got a couple of rentals out here. I've got a condo. I've got a duplex. I'm looking to expand my portfolio into the GTA area." What are maybe some areas or some regions that you would point them towards and say that maybe 750 to 1.25 range?
So you guys know, I'll tell the audience too, like I'm big on Airbnb. So, one of the only things that you can find, like our cap rates are still not the best here. You might be able to find a cash flowing property in the outskirts. But if you're buying in the city of Toronto, you're gonna pay double land transfer tax and there's all these extra upfront costs associated with it. I'm a big fan with the Toronto Airbnb market. If you're able to, there are rules and regulations associated with it, but you will cash flow. So in a time like this, where you might not be making equity, if you can guarantee a cash flowing asset, then why not? And the cash flow is pretty healthy down here with Toronto condos and Airbnb. So again, there are rules and regulations to navigate, but if you're able to get your hands on one, it is a pretty significant gains that you can experience for sure.
And is the condo asset class the type that you go for most when looking at Airbnb properties?
Yeah, so there's certain buildings that allow it. So you have to first start there because you want to be doing this properly. There are people that will do it in buildings that don't allow it and they'll try and get away with it, but it's just not it's just stressful. You don't want to be doing that and having to worry about potentially getting caught or fined and all that. So I always advise people to stick to the buildings that allow it. It's foolproof, it's good to go, and that's essentially where you start. And they're all in the best locations in the city as well. So you're buying an amazing location, plus you're buying an Airbnb friendly building, and that's it.
And as far as price point goes, what range are you looking at on a condo downtown for an Airbnb?
Exactly what you said. So something that's going to do well, you need to at least be between like 650 to $1 million.
Got it.
And is it like it is here in Vancouver where they require it to be your primary residence if you're hosting it for an Airbnb?
Yep. There's creative ways, but we do have to follow those guidelines.
Got it.
And having some Airbnb properties yourself, recently, just through your media, saw you have one launching there in Miami. Is there something that you've learned along the way that you could share with us so others don't, fall into that as well, looking at Airbnbs, maybe a lesson that you've learned?
Yeah, you definitely want to party-proof your place. I had one of my first bookings, I had a 20-year-old girl throw a banger, like 19 people. They were twerking on my walls, throwing tequila bottles off my balcony. It was a mess. So party-proof your place. There's devices you can buy. Hire a good property management team that will vet people. Also, I just recently got screwed by my designer in Miami. So if you're buying in a country or an area where it's hard for you to access it, make sure you're working with people you can trust. So yes, that was a fun experience as well. But other than that, I haven't had many negative experiences. It's only been positive. Like the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
You seem to have a really good idea of what went on at that party. You didn't happen to be there, were
Oh,
you?
I wish I was, honest. I kind of wish I was. But there's no other reason, there's no other way to explain upside down footprints on halfway up my wall, other than twerking.
I
So
guess I guess that is Miami for us.
that was Toronto.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Got it.
that was Toronto.
And tell us a little bit about how you got into the real estate business. What led you to becoming a realtor?
Um, it just it kind of all unfolded naturally. Like growing up, my parents were divorced. Amazing. I'm great with both of them, but I lived with my mother. She had the custody. She was always renting, so I lived in a basement apartment with her essentially majority of my life. And I grew up in an area, Vaughan, all bigger houses. So all my friends had homes, and I always wanted a house. So I was always like this deep want for real estate, like a home or like owning a home. I just didn't understand the financials back then. And then I went to school for history. I was going to become a teacher. Then I started to self-develop myself. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at the age of 19, and then realized, okay, there's other ways to make money out there and make it work for you. So I started to build up a confidence, realized I don't want to be capped with a salary. I started a barber business on the side as well. That took off. So I'm like, okay, I can build a business. Clearly, I had built up such a big network of clients for that. And then my mom finally purchased. So it was like a first circle moment. I had real estate was still not coming to my head as a realtor. I was just trying to explore like entrepreneurship. And then she finally purchased a house, and I went with her to the showing, and I just see the realtor pull up in his car, show the house. And I'm like, okay, this is a job. Let me look into this career. I realized they make, a certain percent per deal. And I said, okay, this is something that's totally under my control. If I want to produce, that's up to me. There's no ceiling. I've just built a great network with myself for my barber business. So let's try this real estate thing. I had no background in business or anything. I just kind of said, let me finish university and just hop into this field, see if it works. And it's been good. I'm obsessed.
It's a great story. Growing up wanting to own a piece of property, a home with you and your mom, and then ended up being a realtor and having several. So appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, of course.
And recently, you had Ryan Serhant, who's at Star TV on the $1 Million Listing, and who was also closed over $1 billion in real estate last year on your podcast. That's a pretty cool experience. What was maybe your biggest takeaway from that podcast?
Well, Ryan's he's my guy. Everyone knows that. Not didn't try to fangirl too much, but meeting him and being so I've been in his office a couple times, but being in that environment and having a chat with him, I realized although he's already experiencing such a high level, like probably one of the highest in our business, he's not even close to being done. And that's the vibe I got from him. So it's just cool to see someone who's operating at that high of a level, still wanting so much more. So for me, it's just more realization to enjoy the process, because I know I'm the exact same way. And as I reach and hit my goals, there's never going to be an end. You're always going to want more. So learning that, seeing him and realizing that was such a high performer. Like right now, if I got this level, I'd be like, oh, sick, I made it. But I just know that if I were to ever get to that point, I'm still going to want more. So it's just to enjoy the present moment, enjoy the journey, enjoy the smaller things in between, because you can really get caught in like the whole process. And then, you look back in life and just like, what did I enjoy? Right. So yeah, balance. Definitely want to bring some more balance into my life.
And I can tell you definitely took one of his main strategies to heart, which is, marketing is so critical and important. And with him starting his own in-house media company there, you do a ton of video marketing. What are some of his little secrets heading into 2023 of ways that he's kind of taking things to the next level or improving his business that maybe you might take note of?
Yeah, he's just a different machine. I would love to experience like 5 seconds inside of his brain myself, but I do know that nowadays content is king. People hate on social media and all that, but it is where the growth happens the fastest. And he was one of the first, which I found truly like super smart, but he was one of the first to bring in that in-house media. Now you're seeing a bunch of these other brokerages doing the same. I think content is going to lead the way for marketing, and the more you can pump out, the bigger presence you'll have. So essentially, it's just like a race to how much content you can create. And I definitely have upped my game, and will continue to up my game. I would aspire to have a similar setup to him in the future as well. So yeah, the content is definitely king. It works for him. It works well. Being your true self in front of the camera is also super important. And he does that extremely well. So yeah, those are some of the things that I took away.
Awesome. Well, appreciate your insights there on the Toronto market, sharing some of your stories throughout your real estate journey and some of these investment strategies with our listeners. And as I mentioned, Mathew loves helping buy, sell, and help his clients invest in real estate. So any questions on the Toronto market, you can find him on all social media outlets. And again, thanks for joining us here today, Mathew.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Hope I was of value.
Definitely.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for being on here today, Mathew.
Yeah, thank you.